Hey girlies, so today is only a voice recording because the video means I have to correct it a few times and I don't have so much time today, but I wanted to make sure to give you guys a little bit taste of the Parsha. So this week's Parsha is called Parsha Ekev, and Ekev, the root of it is, comes from the word like heel, like the heel of your foot, and we see it in reference at the beginning of we see it in Parsha Bereshit when it talks about Yaakov's name. The root of that is also Ekev, heel, because he came out holding the heel of his brother. So that's a little bit on what the name of the Parsha means. And so it's a little recap of just what happens in the Parsha. It's towards the end of the last book, so Moshe is really just giving this long speech to Bnei Israel about all the different things that could happen, will happen, should happen, the different commandments. And in this one, he continues to tell them that what will happen if they keep all the commandments, that Hashem will guard them and love them if they guard and they love the commandments. He tells them about the greatness of the land. He talks about the sin of the golden calf. He retells them about it. He also tells them about the fact that they're going to have to fight nations in order to be able to have the land of Israel. What else? He talks about the dangers in worshiping idols, and also talks about pride and anger and such things. So just a little bit, I want to really touch on one small little point that is brought up in the Parsha, really something that doesn't seem so significant. I'm going to try and make it a little bit shorter than last time. So basically, in the Parsha, it tells us how when Moshe broke the first set of tablets at the top of Mount Sinai, when he saw them committing the sin of the golden calf, he was asked by Hashem to prepare another set of tablets and to give those ones to Bnei Israel, and that the ones that he had broken, he would put in the wooden ark that the Bnei Israel would carry with them from place to place. And if you look at the words that is used in this Parsha to talk about it, there is a lot of emphasis put on this actual ark, the wooden ark that was going to be carrying the broken tablets. And Hashem mentions it, but also Moshe re-mentions it again later, and it's kind of interesting. Why is the ark so important? Shouldn't it be more important to talk about the tablets themselves? So Rabbi Miller brings up this question, and he answers it, and he uses the example of something that was done on Yom Kippur in order to teach us a lesson that will, again, obviously connect back to this ark. So on Yom Kippur, the Kohen, the priest, has to give a sacrifice, and what he has to do is he takes two goats, and one goat is sacrificed to God, and the other goat he has to walk up to the top of this mountain and throw it off of a mountain and kill it. And so Rashi explains to us that a goat is a metaphor for the powers of evil, and that the goat slaughtered on Yom Kippur signified the death or the cancellation, annulment of the influence of any negative side on us. So then, if this is the case, it seems a little weird why one of these goats is sanctified and offered to God, and the other one is killed just because. Why shouldn't both goats that represent darkness and evil be cast off a cliff in the middle of the desert? So I guess we might be able to say, maybe it's because it could be used in our service of God. If we're sacrificing one of them to God, then maybe there is a greater purpose. Let's look at the explanation of evil in order to understand that a bit more. So the Vilna Gaon says that evil has two main categories. There's the physical desire and pride can be manifest, we often see pride manifest in anger. He says that evil has good and bad, that there's the good in the bad, and then there's the bad in the bad. And physical desire can be used is the one that we can see having the good in it, because it can really be elevated and used in order, like our body itself, which is physical, we need to sustain it in order to be of service to ourselves, to others, and to God. So, for example, you have to eat in order to sustain your body, but then on the other hand, you can see negativity in it by being like an overly gluttonous person, or using food only for one's enjoyment can draw a person after complete physicality and sin. The Vilna Gaon explains that this kind of evil side or bad side is one that could actually be pulled and pushed. In other words, the good parts of it, the good connections to physicality, can be pulled towards you, and the tendency towards the negative side can be pushed away from you. But there's also that other side, which is the idea, we see it in the Shema. It actually says, ולא תטעו אחרי לבבכם ואחרי עיניכם אשר אתם זונים אחריהם. And you must not be searching, following your hearts and your eyes after which you tend to stray. And by after your hearts, it's referring to pride, and this pride that can lead us to heresy, in other words, to rejecting God. And the Vilna Gaon says that kind of negative side is not one that you can pull towards you, and there's no goodness in it. It is the bad that is in evil. It needs to be completely eradicated. And so what does this mean that pride is anger? So I'll give an example. Let's say someone throws a rock at you, and you get really angry with the rock. Like, you're so frustrated and this heat is coming out in you, and you're targeting your anger towards this rock. You like kick this rock instead of targeting it to the person that threw it at you. In other words, for a person who becomes filled with anger, basically is denying the part of God, the part that God plays in the event. You are denying the person who threw the rock. Rather, you're looking at you're looking at the rock as a target. You're not realizing that the negative things that happen, or the things that make you angry, are engineered by God. Therefore, it's kind of a form of heresy, because you're denying the presence of God's hand behind everything that happens to you. And an angry person can be likened to a person who is not recognizing God, is not recognizing, again, like the hand behind it, but rather to their own ego, because they delude themselves with like wisdom and strength and wealth, and see themselves as being the one who can stop the bad from happening or can cause the good to happen. And in this sense, you kind of see yourself as the one, as like being able to do whatever you want, being able to do as you please, because if anything bad that happened, or anything good that happened, is really just by function of other people, then you are taking all the control yourself, and you're denying the control of something greater than yourself. And you deny any type of dependence on God. So if we go back to the idea of these two goats that are slaughtered on Yom Kippur, we can see that they do not only symbolize evil in a general way. Each goat represents specifically one of these two main categories of evil. The goat that is thrown off of the cliff, that's cast off the rocky mountain, is really a metaphor for the sins of pride and anger, the sources of heresy, the ones that need to be, according to the Vilna Gaon, completely eradicated. And the one that we offer up to God, that's the goodness in the bad, the recognition that we can take the physicality and we can elevate it. We offer it up to God because physical desires don't have a place in our service of Hashem. As humans, we have bodily requirements that we have to fill in order to enable us to have spiritual growth. But we take the physicality itself and we consecrate it. We make it something kadosh, something holy, something greater. We elevate food, we elevate drink, we elevate our clothing. Everything becomes holy. So specifically on Yom Kippur, you can see the importance of physicality, the day where we abstain from any earthly pleasure, eating and taking a shower,